of the City of Governor City, Texas will meet in a regular meeting in City Hall Council Chambers located at 1716 West Main Street, Governor City, Texas, on Monday, May 12th, 2025 at 4 o'clock p.m. Excuse me. Is she recording this?
Janet.
Oh, it's right there. Meeting is called to order. Roll call to my right.
Rita here.
Person, Jessica here.
Damiano here, and we have four. New business, 3A, consider take action to approve the April 14th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Yes, if there's no discussion on the minutes, I move to approve.
Rita second.
You got a second?
Yes.
Go to my right.
Yes.
Jessica, yes.
Damiano, yes. Okay, 3B, discussion regarding receiving a financial report each month, Damiano. And our question in regard to that is, could we get, if there's any activity between meetings, if we could get a snapshot report of how much money the park board has.
You can, they're also, you have a line item in the budget, so it's available on the website under the financials. Like I believe that March 31st was the most recent.
Okay.
You guys have $7,183 left in your account, in your line item for this year.
Okay.
The amount of the park special fund hasn't changed, it's $17,000. And I think about 6 of that is park board raised monthly, 6,000. So that you have set aside specifically for the pickleball. So, but it is in the financials online, you go down to the park section, it's right there.
Okay.
So, yeah, I know Gilbert, I know y'all have been talking, and Gilbert and Agent have been talking a little bit about raising some additional funds. I sent him over some fundraising type stuff recently, so, you know, if we start getting ongoing, we can track that.
Sure.
But it is, the financials are online, and there's a part of that in there,
Okay.
or whatever.
And that 7,000, does that include the amount we set aside last year for?
And it's 5,000 that you set aside,
That's
and then that is in the park special fund. There's not a separate, so Ricky actually, so the way line items work is you spend it or you lose, right? Last year, we allowed you to take 5,000 because you were raising money, that like 2,200 or 2,300 from Eclipse, and there was just a little bit from July Fest.
Sure.
We let you take 5,000 of that and move it over to park special fund to earmark it for pickleball. And that was the decision. So this year, you have about 7,000 left. We really should spend that out of that line item, or take council to do it. Because they were doing all that fundraising last year. We went ahead and did some of that earlier. There was a question about you guys, how much money you had, did you spend it all or not, so we did roll some of that over. But general fund money is really just to spend, you spend it or you lose it, just like departments do. The park special fund is any donation. So if somebody walks in tomorrow and says, hey, we want to donate $10,000 to the park, it would then go into the park special fund and get spent out of the park special fund for whatever. I want to buy new swing set. That's that account where it's really, the special fund is really a donation account. So it can take revenue and cut expenses. Okay.
And this is kind of a curiosity thing. If the park board was not doing these things to, let's say, make repairs to the pickleball court, what would happen? Well, who would be paying to get the things in the park fixed that the city built and should be maintained?
So it would be the Parks Department but the tennis courts aren't in horrible condition right now, right? We weren't getting beat at the door to put down new lines or to repair the water. You know, they're happy just playing how they're playing, and so at some point, we might get a grant, or we might get a donation that allows us to do that, or it would just be something that kind of, you know, there's so many priorities in the park that David and Mike kind of have those prioritized, and that's really how they spend their life.
Okay.
So,
Because at the beginning, we talked about moving, we got an estimate, which was, I don't know, between $25,000 and $30,000 that needs repair of the tennis court.
yeah,
Because there's holes in it. So in that, mostly that one area, so that was, and I'm wondering, you know, we've been doing this now, what, about a year and a half now? And it's gonna be a long time probably before we get the money to do that. And I feel like, you know, we might need to find another alternative.
yeah. One of the challenges is I would challenge as the city manager and as a parks background person, is that the number one priority of the park, right? We are working on trails and have worked out a way to start working on some of that. There's dollars and time associated with that. Last time we talked about horseshoes. Are we interested in funneling money to horseshoes, right? So I think if there was no park board, the decision would be take that $10,000 every year that they dedicated to park board and just put it to maintenance, and they do maintenance. I think, I don't know that question because that was done before I got here, just, you know, kind of why we did what we did, but you guys kind of took the pickleball on as your special thing, and so that was, I think that was it. I don't know that resurfacing the tennis courts is way high on the list for general maintenance of the park. Trails would probably be number one. Getting some restrooms down there would probably be number two.
There's several things.
You know, I think there's a lot of things. There's equipment starts to time out and wear out, like what David said, you know, swing sets, and playground equipment, and that stuff all has a lot more user return. I'm not saying that resurfacing the tennis court isn't important, but we just don't get a ton of complaints about that. Where we do get complaints about broken swings and trails and, you know, you see what I'm saying? So, that was something y'all kind of picked up on. And when I started, you were thinking about how to do that. So,
Yeah.
but, you know, tight budget makes it tough to make big improvements, especially when you don't do straight sales tax. And that funds everything the city does. So, it's not uncommon for park boards to have kind of a focus, like I want, you know, we want to really make improvements to whatever it is. You know, the other thing is we really have to think about money-wise what makes the most sense, right? Like I had to have a conversation with David recently about, you know, it's all $700, not $7,000. How did David get to a $7,000 seesaw?
I know.
And I said to him, next time I'm going to come to you, I tell her to come talk to me and let me help her figure out what do we want to do. Because, you know, so.
All I did was ask him,
Yeah.
what was the brand of
We
seesaw?
Yeah.
Just wanted to know the brand of seesaw.
So we had some hard conversations in last night, but it's okay. But I think it's not uncommon for a parks board to pick a project, and try to earn money. I think that $5,000 is really intended to be, hey, look, we've got, you know, we're donating money to this too. How do we raise money?
Right.
And the Coops Fest did great, right? You guys sold a lot of shirts, and you had a big push, and that kind of slowed off a little bit, but a lot of times, until you have a big influx of a donation or a grant or something like that, our dollars are really maintenance dollars. Keeping basketball goals up, keeping, you know, skate park from being torn up, those amenities that get a ton of use. So,
All right. 3C, discussion regarding tasks and assignments for the July Fest. So, we had originally, agreed to do the kids' place at the July Fest. And, I have done a little research as far as the two companies that do the inflatables, and Gilbert and I are kind of looking over that and going to try to plan. I unfortunately will not be able to make July Fest, and Renata just told me she won't be in town either. So I'm a little hesitant about committing people, will you be in town for July Fest?
Yes.
Okay, and I know Gilbert will. I will. And Delta will.
26.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Another thought on there, I don't know, we haven't really had this conversation, but this is a company, I don't know the name, but I just know they had a picture of it, so I printed them off. Another thought is maybe to not do water slides, but do like games or like a rock climbing wall, or now needs or this bounce out the all this interesting. One of them is from Mildred, but I don't think she has her website is kind of on dark. Baltimore is just a company that I've worked with most of my career. They're in Rowlett, we don't have to use it, I just knew they had the pictures of the kind of stuff. But they're really, instead of slides and water and us providing people, they are more game-based. A basketball shoot, a Velcro wall, a inflatable bucking bowl, a obstacle course where you have to go down or up, a soccer kick where you kick it at this target. A lot of times those require less people,
Yeah.
less bodies to help. You still could sell a $5 or $10 bracelet, access to it, but adults also come play that stuff, so you might get more. It's just a thought. We would have to find somewhere around here that had that kind of stuff. I don't know if Bouncing More becomes out or at some of our bigger events, we might do some of our smaller stuff, we do bounce houses, some of our bigger stuff, we do stuff like that quad jump, where they would staff right in. They strap them in, they bounce for however many minutes, and they move to the next thing.
Do they provide staff? Or do
They do provide staff, because it is security and insurance, right? They want to make sure people are coming in. If you go right on the wall, they're going to provide the staff to do bells and bottom of each one. So that might, after seeing y'all's emails go back and forth, that might be something that it's going to be a little more expensive, but it still might be something different and more fun.
Yeah, and then we got to be involved.
As much, you would still be there, you would still might be selling bracelets, but you wouldn't have to man every bounce house or worry about water or do. We're gonna have some ideas about how to move the vendors so the water isn't a problem,
Right.
right? They have all the way butted up to the tent. We are over vendors this year, the chamber is doing it, so it gives us a little more freedom to kind of move them, like more like what we did with Eclipse Fest,
Yeah.
where we kind of line them up further over,
Mhm.
instead of trying to cram in front there against the tennis courts. The food vendor won't be there, we're gonna do food trucks instead,
Yeah.
so they'll all be pulled in a little different. It's just a thought. One of the ladies, and I'll give you that, one of the ladies that's on there is from Mildred, and she can jump above or something, and she has done events here before, so I know she does, and she has some of that stuff. And you can still do maybe a couple of bounce houses that have the ceiling, so they're not so hot. The problem is if they're exposed at the top, it's like, melt their legs on the classroom. But it's just an idea that this morning I was getting around on how do I get you help that might cost more. You might only have 4 instead of 6. But if you had staff, all you're doing is selling bracelets. You're giving away balls, because you sell balls, right? So, something to think about. And you're welcome to call Bouncing More and see if they come here. I don't know. They just happen to have a warehouse. I started using them when it was a one-man show, and they have now grown into this huge company that does bounce houses all over Dallas.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the owners anymore. It's just a thought that, or they might be able to tell you somebody in the manager don't maybe have access to a bounce house. I couldn't find pictures, I couldn't find this kind of stuff. But if you did something different, like a basketball shoot, well, that doesn't require, that is not as labor intensive, and you're not there all day long, right? That was part of the big things. you and Gilbert were there from 8 a.m. till 2:30, and then you went home and then you were wrapping. And that's horrible.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I was at an event in Eustis not too long ago, several months ago, and they had a guy there with the rock wall.
Those are so fun.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're on trailers, so we just have to look at where we can put it, because we might be able to expand that fence a little bit and put it like, you know where the fire truck was parked last year? I can't remember if the fire trucks were inside the fence or outside the fence, so we can tinker with that a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
So we have some options about how we might be able to, yeah, absolutely. I just, this afternoon was like, well, let me print off some examples and then y'all can think, but it would be less crazy, it would be
Yeah.
less little bitty people
Yes.
and more of a little older crowd.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'll call and ask questions.
And there's a couple of them in there, there's found some more, but there's another one. And Hammer Time, they have all that stuff, I could not find it on Hammer Time's website. Hammer Time now works for me too, so I have to be a little bit careful. Sure. If it needs to be his wife, not him, because he works for me, Tommy works for me.
Oh, okay.
And our Parks Department, I don't want to not use they also don't have insurance, which is a little.
Yeah, have you
Yeah,
seen this?
I Googled and I was like, you know what, I know who has the pictures, I'm gonna just go with who has the pictures.
Yeah, that's a company I hadn't heard of, so.
Yeah,
But they're local as well, so.
So those, we couldn't fit those inside the tennis court.
some of them you could. So I don't know how big, that's a question for them, can they get it in the Gateway Tennis Court, and I don't know that, but we might be able to shuffle some things around so that we can make it work. When you think about it, you got a lot of room back there, now we're gonna have, where the food guy was, we're gonna have food vendors down there, but we still got a lot of room to play with if we need to. So,
And then last year, it was paid for by,
the city has a budget, I think it's $1,500, something like that, we paid for it, and then y'all worked it with, and sold wristbands.
so we get the same.
And then y'all got, yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Okay.
So, just a thought, do with that what you want, just,
Yeah, go ahead. So we do something.
Okay.
Okay, the only reason I say that is because if it's something that they can do easier so that they're not stressed out,
Exactly.
not having
I feel
to
the
plan.
same.
Because that's just not fair to put everything on two people.
No,
That would just be bad day.
yeah.
The other alternative, and Brooke and I have talked a lot about this, if we decide to go the water slide, we learned some things last year. One, we can move this. Two, we will just leave them inflated and lock the gates. Part of our challenge was when we let the air out, that's when we push water. So we could leave them inflated and.
Okay. Yeah, well, we have 2 more meetings, so before July 5th, so, I'll gather as much information as I can between now and June meeting. And, you know, if y'all can come up with anything, please, you know, come let us know also. I think I'll contact the city of Eustis and try and get that, person's name that had that rock climbing wall and see if I can get some contact information for them as well.
Rock climbing walls are fun, you know, and they work people and they work them, and sometimes like that one, there's a company in the Metroplex that wasn't known, but has it just on the back of the trailer,
Yeah,
and they just bring it in on that trailer, and that trailer has steps, and they launch the whole thing, but one, you're going to attract a little different crowd. Doesn't say you can't have a small bounce house, right, where 10 people are in at a time and they rotate through. Because I took some pictures of that too, but maybe the bowl, or maybe that thing that you jump, you know,
Yeah.
like that's a lot of fun, and a lot, different ages will play that stuff.
Yeah, you
So,
could get a lot more of the older crowd, whereas I think we were
Yeah.
kind of did it.
More into the
The
teenagers.
teenagers.
I agree.
10 and up instead of the 2, 3, 4, 5.
they're way less trouble, for sure,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
right.
Yeah.
Okay. I like this, I feel more comfortable with this, with our situation, so,
Yeah,
I think
it's
so.
better than
Yeah.
the alternative.
yeah, so.
What we
And then
did.
the other thing is, there's no reason for y'all to be out there all day long, right? You
Yeah.
tell me where stuff goes, there was no reason at all for me and you and
Yeah.
Shelley and Amy and all of us to be there, and Gilbert all to be there, when we can say, David, this is where they go, and they're gonna get out. So, there's no reason for y'all to kill yourself to try to do this when, at the end of the day, you're gonna be there, you're gonna be in that celebration, so you can even celebrate ahead of time, and we have some options there, so.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? All right. 3D, discussion regarding grant update. Brady.
So here's, got access onto the grant, and so this is for, it's a grant, it opened up May 1st, it's open through August, they pay 50% matching, and that's for city parks. So you can do the trail, you can do pickleball, you can do multiple things. I've started on a lot of the answers, a lot of it's ChatGPT helped me, so it still needs to be
Thank goodness.
the big kind of, a lot of it's unanswered, the cost aspect is we have to get quotes and kind of have the project detailed fully on what all we're trying to do, who all's doing the work, how much it's gonna cost to submit it with
So
this.
we have to pick a project out there.
Well, you do multiple projects,
Okay.
but you have to get it all, you have to get it all together in mind to submit it as one.
Okay.
So I guess that's kind of going back to what our project is, and, you know, we kind of need to pick something and focus in a little bit on it.
Okay. Well,
Well, we're in the middle of pickleball, why wouldn't we finish pickleball?
Yeah, and I mean,
I don't know, I mean, we could use like some playground equipment or something, if we could throw some of that in, and that would be like easy. It doesn't require a ton, here's the equipment we like, these people are gonna set it up, and this is what it costs. That would be an easy research to add to, and we're gonna have most of the pickleball information to do the courts, I think.
so is there an amount? Is there a set amount?
it says in there it's up to 120,000, 150,000.
Yeah, that was good.
120 to 150,000?
Yes.
Okay.
It's much higher than what we were talking
The
about.
match is what, 20%,
50.
50%? So that, just keep that in mind, we have to then contribute, so if we apply for 50, we have to contribute 25.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's the challenge with Parks and Rec, with the
Yeah.
Texas Parks and Wildlife. Grant.
So that's,
We don't have a match.
you know, even if we get, you know, we've got 5,000 in the bank, and we're taking the majority of what we've got left this year, and a good chunk next year, you know, that's still, we're looking at like $20,000, $30,000.
But it
We can do a
doesn't,
lot with $20,000, $30,000, but it's just, we gotta be realistic about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
yeah, if you took everything you had in Park Special Fund, which I would be hesitant to do just because that is kind of a catch-all of donations that can be spent on emergencies too, right?
Yeah,
And you took, that's, you know, if you say you took some of that, and you took 13 of that, and you took 7,000, that's 20 grand. So you'd be then applying for a $40,000 grant, which is about, you know, probably pickleball is going to be what, 32 or 33, and that's 18
Well,
months
the way
old.
to be, then let's be conservative and not add a whole bunch to the grant, just because of money there, right? We don't have money match.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
finish pickleball courts and say, yay, we survived one, and what's next?
Yeah, you can absolutely do that, 100%.
I think that's a whole lot safer.
Yeah,
I absolutely do not ever like being with zero money in the bank, that's never a good thing.
but if you took, you know, if you took 12 and 7, you know, that would be the rest of your money this year. I don't know when applications are due,
early August.
so it would probably end up being money next year, so, you know, it's like, if that's to get funded again for that 10 grand, then you just dedicate that, and 10 of this Park Special Fund, and
That
so,
would cover
To get how much? From 40. To get 40.
yeah.
And have you gotten any quotes for getting the trail?
The trail is extremely expensive. The guys have tested a portion of, Jay gave me a magic, I don't know, crushed asphalt, Portland cement, water, it worked great. So they're now sorting the crushed asphalt. So that would be a process to do it that way. So it just takes time. So
But look, we didn't have a bunch of money in there, we already own all the,
Yeah. It's just a process, it just takes a little bit of time.
but we don't need to be in a hurry, so.
Yeah, they're just
If they
doing,
need
they'll just
multiple-
do a section as they go, they do a test section.
Yeah,
They did,
So,
they did a test.
over by the horseshoe pits.
Okay,
So, and it works great. So, now it's just dedicating time. Right now, they're probably a little behind on, but other than that, so. Plus, the parking fields, we're packed out Friday.
how does it look, the test, have you seen it?
I have not seen it, I've been all over the world, so no.
Okay, have you seen it?
Yeah, it's great.
Does it? Okay.
It's just,
Looks like it's gonna hold up.
yeah, I don't think there'll be any problem with it hold up. It's cement and asphalt, it's hard to,
Okay.
so. They had some,
Hard to go wrong.
they spread it with some kind of spreader and that didn't work, so then they had to have a different kind of spreader and I think they got it figured out now. So they were kind of taking a little bit of time every day to sort, because you can't have big giant chunks of that reclaimed asphalt. So they were kind of sorting through it.
Okay.
There's a little screen,
Yeah.
it's a screen that take out the big chunks,
Yeah.
then build
Okay, well, I'm gonna propose that we, think about what projects we want, and I agree with you, that pickleball needs to be at the top of it.
I think it's just gotta be.
But, let's think about the money, as far as the money, what it's gonna cost us to do these things. And I'd also like Gilbert involved in this too, so let's come prepared to make a decision next meeting. Does that
So who
sound?
has the, information on pickleball? Is that all started before I joined here?
Well, I mean,
Does Gilbert-
we had a quote way back in the beginning.
I probably have it somewhere,
Yeah.
I'll try to find it.
It was 25-ish, 25, 28
28.
thousand.
So would that still be, the whole we already have, would it still be valid?
We will have to update it before we apply for grant. They'll want one within the last 90 days.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's what I was
And
saying.
it's probably going up some.
It'll give us
This
an
is
idea
a
about
company
it.
that just comes in and resurfaces the whole top. They basically put down like a self-leveling concrete layer and then they repaint it so it will level out the issues. But he did actually come out and look at it. It's playground Shade Depot. He actually came out in his work class. I mean, he does a great job. So.
Okay,
There we go.
okay. What other, just off the top of your head, what other projects would y'all think that we could fit in that amount to be able to do? Anything, yeah?
Anything for the playground? Playground?
Well, that's where I was gonna go, is maybe some playground equipment.
Maybe a seesaw or two?
Mhm.
But yeah, but I think we don't go there until we're sure what, we've got, how much money we're gonna have to pickleball. Get a good bid on that, see what that looks like, and then we can make a better educated decision on how to finish up the grant,
I agree.
or what the grant will look like.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of pages.
All right, anything else before we adjourn?
We had to call and make sure it was legit.
They denied me the first round.
Yeah. Oh, they're like, do you know this guy? I was like, yes, I know that guy, it's him.
I do not.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Is reluctant to bring any animals in, especially as big as it's leaking and the heat. The biggest thing for them was they did not like the animals out in that environment, in the heat, that time. And they get that, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn, do I have a second?
Yeah.
Thanks, y'all.